had this problem 2
We
weeks ago.
better wait for that recording. Pardon. We try that again. We're calling this meeting to order. This is the City Council, Morgantown City Council regular meeting. We're in Mon County Commission Chambers, 243 High Street. On the second floor, it's Tuesday, July 25th, and it's a little bit past 7 p.m. We're calling this meeting to order and asking the clerk, nice to see you, to please call the roll.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Abu Ghanem,
Present.
Bill Kowecki,
Present.
Wheezy Michael,
Present.
Danielle Trumbull,
Here.
Dave Harshbarger,
Here.
Brian Butcher,
Here.
Mayor Celine.
Here. And now we're going to stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now we're on to the approval of the minutes. We're looking at July 11th, 2023 special meeting minutes and July 11th, 2023 regular meeting minutes. And unless somebody has something that they'd like to see for correction, then we just approve by acclamation. Yes?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Correspondence. So we're starting off with a presentation of the zoning text amendment, and this is from the Director of Development Services, Ricky Yeager. Hello.
Hey, good evening. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. City Manager Haas. Thank you for giving me an opportunity tonight to address you regarding the proposed ordinance amending the city's permitted land use table in the Planning and Zoning Code. The ordinance would amend Table 13310501 to permit dwelling mixed use, dwelling multifamily use, and mixed-use buildings by conditional use permit in the city's professional, residential, and office district. After review, the Planning Commission made a motion that the proposed text amendments were consistent with the city's comprehensive plan and that the Commission recommended enactment. The motion failed. The application was brought forward because the property is not currently permitted to utilize the space as a multifamily dwelling or mixed-use building. While the address was previously registered with the City of Morgantown as rental property, staff were notified in 2007 by the previous owner that the property was no longer being rented. With the passage of time, the non-conforming use was no longer grandfathered in the Pro District. And we are seeking that we move this to your next regular council meeting agenda for further consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have some, well, let's see. We're talking about whether we move it to the next meeting or not.
Yes, ma'am.
So if we wished to concur with the Planning Commission and how they looked at it, what would be our best next course of action? Would it be to move it to the next agenda and then have it more fully explained, or what would be our best course of action?
You can move it to the next agenda, and then if you wish to concur, you can move to receive and file at your next regularly scheduled meeting.
Okay. Receive and file if we wish to concur, and then otherwise we can make another motion appropriate to whatever that would be.
Yes, Mayor.
Okay. So, would you like to move it to the next agenda?
Sure.
I'll second.
All right. Great. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next meeting, we can explain a little bit more. So, Main Street Morgantown, Executive Director Amy Loomis and company. Everybody back here is on Main Street Morgantown. Wave your hand. Thank you for coming. So this is going to be an annual report, and it's going to be a downtown safety plan. one after the other. Goodness.
Let me just check to make sure this is working.
I'm sure Brian can.
Brian can, I barely can.
Yeah, if you can't see, we can all move down.
Brian, you can slide further.
You can move way down. Look how much
There's
space
a lot of
we
other
have.
room down there. Look at that.
No, no, it's okay. You can come further if you need to.
Can you all see? Because you really can move
Yeah,
down.
no, we're
No,
good.
I'm good.
Feet-
I'm
feet
good.
more.
I'm good.
Okay, good evening, City Council and City staff. My name is Amy Loomis. I am VP of Revitalization Services for the Morgantown Area Partnership and Executive Director for Main Street Morgantown. I am joined here today by Russ Rogerson and Mark Downs. Russ is the CEO of the partnership, and Mark Downs is the board chair of Main Street Morgantown. I am pleased to give you tonight's annual partner update. Main Street Morgantown is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we are about to celebrate our 40th year. Our mission has recently been updated. Our mission is to develop and promote vibrant and prosperous downtown and wharf districts. To that end, we lead a safe and welcoming and attractive district, growth and prosperity among current and prospective businesses, thoughtful revitalization, and collaborative partnering to achieve a thriving business community. As a national Main Street organization, we are required to track our investments the investments into the downtown and wharf districts. In 2022, there was $500,000 in public investment and over $2 million in private investment. Apologize for the kerning there. We have also invested in district advertising, $20K. A mural initiative, $15K, and that one was also completed with funds from First Energy Corp and YCF. And then we also completed a market study worth $9K through the State Main Street organization. We have also hosted or facilitated a full slate of events for the year 2022 with 7 arts walks, 3 vintage walks, 3 cruise-ins, 6 haunted walks, special signature events like the 4th of July, the 10th anniversary of the Marketplace, Hops on the Mon, Trick or Treat, Small Business Saturday, and we help to collaborate and facilitate the MLK Day celebration, the Handmade Market, the International Street Fest, Christmas Parade, and others. This past year was a transformational year. In December of 2022, management, the organization became managed by Main Street, the Morgantown Area Partnership, making me the executive director acting. So that arrangement allows for professional management, staffing for administrative and program support, a renewed strategic foundation, actionable and accountable work plans with a major focus on safety this year. And then we also focused on restoring and cultivating meaningful partnerships and maintaining our national Main Street accreditation, which attracts $9K of local investment annually. The benefits of that arrangement with the Morgantown Area Partnership include cost efficiencies, enhanced connectivity, and enhanced capacity with our staff. And the return is greater visibility for the organization and its footprint, the downtown and wharf, renewed confidence in our org, and greater power with partnerships. Our budget has also increased by 175% over the previous year, and we have seen increased support from the county and the city. Thank you very much to the city, based off of renewed confidence and overall priority for the downtown and wharf. So this year, our distinct line item spends include a South Downtown conceptual package, identity and branding, and marketing and promotions activities. Our annual plans are guided by our 4-point model. This is a national model that is proven for downtown revitalization. It includes economic vitality, design, which has to do with the built environment, organization, which has to do with organizational capacity, and promotion, which has to do with district storytelling. This proven 4-point model derives 4 of our committees by the same name. In economic vitality, some of our activities include advancing safety collaboratively, developing business recruitment tools, and doing a districting study on South Downtown. Our design committee is working on being engaged in the master plan and public realm considerations, including gateways, wharf integration, and the marketplace growth plan. our design committee is also assessing and refining programs in wayfinding, the arts walks, and public arts programs, and also trash services and storage and WVU collaborations, as well as putting together resources for historic buildings and incentivizing property investment. Our organization committee is focused on our strong partnerships and really communicating that power with approach and the collaborative, solutions-focused working together, developing a fundraising strategy, and reimagining and developing our supporter program. And our promotions committee, again, is focused on storytelling, so it'll be refreshing its branding, developing a marketing plan, looking at strategic communications, continuing a vibrant calendar of events, and also stakeholder programming to benefit merchants, property owners, and organizational supporters. So what does that mean when the rubber hits the road? Well, our plans and initiatives that we are leading include in safety and public engagement of economic vitality, trash services and storage pilot on Walnut Street in collaboration with the city, a recurring litter pickup volunteer program, which started in April, monthly, a safety index under development with the city police, and business recruitment. There's a vacant storefront initiative where we are placing lights and imagery and art in vacant storefronts, sprucing them up and making them look more intriguing and more like a possibility for an entrepreneur to place their new business in. We're also working on a property inventory and database to make it easier for entrepreneurs to connect to available properties and start their businesses. And again, this South Downtown Districting Study, which is happening now. In promotions and marketing, again, several plans, including marketing plans, branding plans, and website overhaul at the end of the year. And then we are engaged in multiple initiatives that are led by other organizations, including the City of Morgantown's master plan in the downtown focus area, the downtown traffic study by the MMPO, beautification with the City of Morgantown, a pay station project with the Parking Authority, wayfinding, and other downtown event collaborations. Our recipe for success is this renewed strategic foundation from our transformational year, and we're really focusing on bridging those critical communication gaps between the public and the private stakeholders. We really stand ready to engage stakeholders in consensus and solution identification, and being a part of the Morgantown Area Partnership enhances the success of the organization. So we do plan to engage meaningfully through formal channels with our funders, our partners, and neighbors to bring vibrancy to the district. So what can you do? Thanks for believing on us. So watch us grow. Participate and allow us to engage you as our key partner. We already have several city council members and some city staff who come to our committees and help us with our strategic work. We will prove to return on the investment for your investment and for the investment of our partners. And if you want to follow us and follow our activities, we have lots of positive storytelling on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And here's one of our most liked posts of last year, which was artist Allie Williams with her new mural on Fayette Street on the side of Bubblefish. I also have for you the introduction to our safety strategy and implementation plan. So you get a double header presentation today. So we'll just talk very briefly about safety in context, our timeline for safety, and some of the strategic areas and how we've implemented it. So safety in context, you already know about our mission and the transformational year we've had. The bottom line is the success of a vibrant and prosperous downtown district hinges on a safe, clean, attractive, and welcoming space. Without these basic attributes, all of our investments lose their value, whether it's time or money. So the purpose of our plan is to reduce behavior that infringes upon the safety and well-being of all, to support a welcoming downtown environment, and to collaborate to dismantle the root causes that lead to loitering, unsafe drug use, crime, and assault. And this all started in September 2022, where Main Street issued a letter of concern that was received by the city, and that we were committed to collaborating with you. And our Economic Vitality Committee took the lead on the safety initiative. So the city began in October to convene administrative staff for a safety group. And our work began as we drafted our safety strategy and vetted it amongst multiple partners, incorporating feedback along the way. It took until February 2023 for that safety strategy to be adopted by our board, and the vetting continued with our key stakeholders. Now we have WVU convening leadership level safety committees. We have the city's ongoing administrative downtown safety committee meetings, which meet monthly. We're working on the ongoing establishment of metrics with key partners, and developing a safety index and a scorecard. And we are doing onboardings and briefings among key partners to make sure that they know that the safety strategy exists and how they can help. We do have plans for public stakeholder engagement to inform them of the plan and of recent advancements. So that's the timeline, but I bet you're wondering what's inside the plan. And most plans sit on the shelf, but I can tell you that this one is not sitting on the shelf. It's making advancements every day. So the strategic areas were determined by consensus discussions, and we took that and we turned that into a document that is the framework for collaborating on advancing safety. So those strategic areas are public safety, health and sanitation, public property safety and security, and contributing to solving the root causes. In public safety area, we are looking at ways to advance personnel and presence downtown, code enforcement, public infrastructure and realm, like lighting and security cameras, and property owner responsibilities, such as establishing and setting standards for reporting safety concerns. Under health and sanitation, trash services and storage, clean streets, pest control, and property owner responsibility, helping to develop informational resources so that they know how they can participate in helping the health and sanitation around their properties or businesses. And then property safety and security, code enforcement and permitting, public awareness. So implementation looks a lot like defining, measuring, assessing, problem solving, engaging stakeholders, implementing solutions, evaluating and reporting. And this is not a linear continuum, it's a circular one that's always referencing back to itself, because any action is done best when you're always referring and reevaluating. So, in implementation, the mission is to make meaningful safety advancements collaboratively. So define, measure, and assess. Problem solve by establishing leadership and administrative meetings, getting that safety strategy vetted. Some of this is a little bit old information, I apologize. Researching solutions and compiling case studies that work, and then figuring out how they work in our community. And then working with stakeholders to identify buy-in resources and funding needed. Stakeholder engagement is on the way. Implementing solutions and evaluating and reporting. So where did the rubber hit the road since we started? Well, there have been a lot of advancements that we appreciate. I think the biggest one that our organization appreciates on behalf of the merchants is that the city and Main Street Morgantown were able to incentivize the downtown directed patrol, which has the MPD set foot once per hour in the district to have their eyes on the area and improve the feeling of safety. And they're also they're also developing relationships with the merchants as well, because I think merchants feel like they've been absent. There's also been increased partnership between the MPD, campus police, and other policing agencies to address the staff shortages. And we celebrate the hiring of the police social worker to the MPD as of this month. There are also de-escalation specialists responding via police and peers, and the addition of the MPD bike patrol. and the installation of over 70 public safety cameras district-wide. For our merchant stakeholders, we've increased communication of public safety information through the merchant memo and trying to get information out about how people can ask for help. And again, our safety index is under development to measure and assess safety. Under health and sanitation, we've been working really closely with Ricky Yeager and our stakeholders to develop a Walnut Street trash services pilot. We are looking for aesthetic and functional solutions to improve the look and reduce the rummaging of the toters along the walls on Walnut Street. We've also coordinated as an organization monthly volunteer litter pickup opportunities starting in April, and in September we're collaborating with the city ambassadors and the WVU students to address those high traffic times. Those would be game days, parade days, things like that. We're also seeing that as the city has been engaged with us in the plan, there has been an increased focus on and coordination between litter control, pest control, and power washing. And wherever possible, we communicate that the Morgantown 311 app is great for reporting non-emergency issues and logging them and moving them through their system. On property safety and security, we have seen increased focus, coordination, and follow-through from the city regarding code enforcement, and we are developing informational resources to assist property owners. So generally speaking, increased engagement, newly formed safety committees that are leading on solving the problem, increased communication, increased responsiveness, and tightened coordination, as well as from us, increased communication of safety, traffic, and construction information via the merchant memo. And when we establish our merchant and property owner resources, we'll have those as well. So in conclusion, we are making advancements through the safety work by strengthening partnerships. And we understand, along with the city, that progress does not always travel in a straight line. So we're thankful that the city is creating tables for us to be productive and solutions-oriented and engaged in the work. Again, progress doesn't always follow a straight line, but I think the goal is to try and improve things over time. And there are fits and bumps, whether it's seasonal or otherwise. But we appreciate the opportunity to keep each other accountable on the safety and cleanliness issue. So what can you do? The safety strategy is a fluid and living document. Feedback and engagement have contributed to its power and effectiveness. So we are your engaged partner in solution identification, and we plan to communicate and track progress with you through the safety index and our safety scorecard. To be continued. You can view the plan online at bit.ly/MSM safety strategy, and I'll also leave a few copies with Christine. If that's okay, Christine, thank you. Do you have any questions for me or feedback regarding your annual presentation or the safety plan?
Yeah, that was great. A lot of information. Amy, if you could provide that electronically to us, that'd be great.
I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
Could you go back one slide for me? Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple of questions about things that were mentioned, but I'm not sure if they're directed at Amy or staff, so when would you like me to ask those?
If it's regarding the safety plan, I think this would be
Okay.
fine time.
The downtown cameras were mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
We purchased those more than a year ago, and to my knowledge, less than 10% have still been put up. What is the status on those?
I do know they were back ordered, like a lot of other things. One of the biggest problems has been the hub that's going to be located at the Met Theater, and the components to the hub have been the real problem there. Talking to our IT person, he's hoping that they're going to be in within 30 to 45 days.
Okay, so
Once we get the hub in, all the other components are ready to go. So that's what we've been waiting for.
Okay. Another thing that I had a question about that was mentioned is the MPD bike patrol. Do you know how often that's happening or what areas they're patrolling? Because there seems to be a lot of encampments along the trail right now, and to my knowledge, they're not being tagged or anything like that. So I'm just curious.
All I can tell you is that the school resource officers have been they've been allocated to the trail system to have on bike patrol and are supposed to be monitoring the trails very regularly. In fact, that's almost where they live during the shifts.
Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
So I noticed you had wrote collaboration with county, campus, police, etc. Have we implemented or have we contacted any of the other law enforcements to work with us on downtown?
I can't speak for Chief for our Chief Powell, but I know that that's been our interest to make sure that we're engaging as many of our law enforcement folks. What we're finding though is that other law enforcement agencies are as stretched as the Morgantown Police Department, and so working together is certainly the way to do it. The problem is everyone's experiencing scarce resources right now.
what other? I've attended a few of the safety meetings, and I've appreciated the fact that WVU is in there, Main Street's in there, all the departments of the city that I can think of are in there, and they're all talking very specifically. That's why as a policymaker, I'm not always there, but I have been in to see, and I've noticed that it's just very practical and very concerned and very directed and working together.
Mayor, I have a question.
So, yeah.
Amy, when you said upcoming is the public stakeholder engagement, is there like a set date or time for any of that yet, or are you still planning?
No, there is not a set date or time.
Okay.
Soon, coming soon.
And people will find it on the website? on that
Yes,
day?
we'll be announcing widely when that happens.
Madam Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, just to indicate my appreciation for the Main Street organization in the way this has been approached. It's not a matter of coming in and pointing fingers and demanding services from the city. It's been a matter of participation and actually considerable cooperation. And it's been very successful, I think. I'm very pleased with the way it's proceeding, and I compliment you on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Is there any other questions? Yes? No? No. Okay. Appreciate it. All right. Now we're looking at unfinished business, boards and commissions. Do we have some
Madam Mayor?
appointments? Yes.
I'd like to nominate Suzanne Goshen Kitchen to the Personnel Board.
Second.
All right. Acclamation.
Yes.
Yes.
This is a reappointment. And who's next?
May I nominate Gabe DeWitt to the Board of Zoning Appeals?
Second.
Thank you. By acclamation.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Who else?
Mayor, I'd like to nominate Susan Klingensmith to the Bow Park Board.
Second?
Wonderful. By
Yes.
acclamation. Okay.
And Mayor, I'd like to nominate Jonathan Trumbull to the Wards and Boundaries Commission.
I'll second.
Bill wins.
Okay.
All right. by acclamation.
Yes.
Appreciate it. Who else? Do we have any others?
I think it's it.
All right. Now we're to the public portion. We're gonna open up the public portion, and this is subject to rules established by council and adopted by resolution. And the main thing is when you come up to speak, if you would state your name and your address, and make sure that you're keeping your comments, we're keeping away from personal comments, and we're keeping towards issues and whatever you'd like to speak about regarding city business. Thank you. I have a list. We'll go down this list, but then when we get to the bottom of the list, we also, more people can speak than is on this list, but this just gets it started. So, Tricia DeCenso.
Good evening. I'm Tricia DiCenzo, and my family and I are property owners in Morgantown. First, I want to welcome Weeze to the council. I hope you do good things for Morgantown. Secondly, I'd also like to acknowledge the efforts of Danielle, Weeze, and Tom Bloom to come downtown and actually clean up. And third, I just kind of wanted to state my dissatisfaction with Mr. Kowecki for nominating Jenny again for mayor. We had kind of hoped that Danielle would have been mayor, but so on with that. I'm here tonight to present a public record of the crimes that keep being perpetrated against my family's private property and the others in this town. I tried to go through the appropriate channels to find some relief for the daily onslaught of criminal activity by the roving, lawless groups of drug addicts. I resorted to posting pictures and videos on Facebook because I knew that the rest of Morgantown didn't know what was happening to their downtown and to us. Because of this, I have received threats to myself and my family, but I have also received a ton of support. The truth must be told of what a failure and how devastating the previous council's social policies are to the hardworking businesses in this community. When we report the crimes that are continually happening to us, we are consistently met with the same response. There is nothing that can be done because everyone's hands are tied by the city council policies. We own the building that shares the parking lot behind HealthRight. We knew HealthRight was there as a community clinic, and we were content to coexist as neighbors. But then something changed. We started noticing that the people hanging in the parking lot were much younger and scarier. They were erratic and vocal, and they were dirty. They would mill around in groups and leave tons of garbage. Then we started noticing a few hypodermic needles. Then it became many, and soon there was poop too. At times, there were 20 to 30 people at a time camped out in the parking lot, some openly injecting themselves, some so high they didn't even know where they were, and needles were everywhere. ODs have been a regular occurrence, and boxes of Narcan a familiar sight down there. Large groups of young, homeless drug addicts were sitting in front of my tenants' windows, using my water for their personal hygiene. I have pages of documentation of these activities in that parking lot, including the open drug deals that are never stopped by the staff who oversee the parking lot. In fact, they have protected the drug users from me when I call the police to report them for doing drugs in public. The previous council unanimously endorsed harm reduction at HealthRight, which is in a busy downtown business district. This seems to have been an open call to drug addicts everywhere. Most don't seem to be here to recover. They are here to do more drugs. Many of these addicts can't participate in the community as contributing members by the very nature of their addiction. Their addiction is consuming. And why aren't there enough cops to police the open drug use and vandalism? Probably because the previous council also did not give them the respect and support they deserved, and many have left the police force, and now it is understaffed. We have caught people committing crimes, and in some cases as serious as threatening with a knife, yet those people are still wandering the streets. There are hordes of drug addicts living in encampments around town. Why should they be given a free pass when they destroy what we have worked hard to build? A civilized society has to have rules and consequences. There is a difference between homeless and the drug-addicted homeless who choose homelessness over recovery. I am curious to see who is funding these programs, because if I were a donor, I would be very disturbed to know that my donation was being spent to allow this kind of behavior. A solution needs to be worked on before college kids return to school and the winter starts. Of course, that means that this community our community should be included in any of the discussions before more money is spent on any new programs, so that we can help evaluate the full impact, because we cannot financially and emotionally sustain the same amount of damage as we did last winter. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Michael? Michael DeSenso?
That's it.
No, I signed up too, I think, accidentally.
Hi.
Hey, how you guys doing? I don't have any prepared statements, so I'm just gonna talk. My name is Michael DeCenzo. I live here in Morgantown. My office is on High Street. I do property management. I've been on the ground here for a little over like 2 years at this point. Prior to that, I did 9 years in the military. I was a Green Beret, deployed over into Iraq and Syria, okay? I'm here to talk about the same issue that my mother was just up here talking about. What I want you guys to know is that I have seen firsthand over the last 18 months a downward spiral of the area, right? I was unaware that Mainstream Morgantown would be here tonight, but I just want to let you know that these initiatives are not working. They are not efficiently making this a more vibrant, safer area. The metric for that, I don't know how you guys are determining that. And it is a little scary because from her presentation, it's very underdefined as to what that means. Like, what is safer down here? What does that mean to you guys? I think it's very subjective. To me, safe means that I can walk down the street and I don't have to watch somebody take a piss in the CVS parking lot with my 3-year-old daughter. Safe to me means that I can not worry about my tenants being broken into their house and having their laptops and iPads stolen. And then when I call the cops, they don't do anything. And then my maintenance guys have to go and get their shit back for them. That to me is not safer. These things have never occurred before, ever. We've had these buildings for years here, and it's never been a thing. And somehow, in the last 18 months, everything has begun to go downhill. And where and how, I'm not really sure. I think there's a little bit of under-policing. I think there's a lack of action here. I mean, you guys are a council. I'm sure there's some very well-placed ordinances that you guys can place out there. Like for example, like if you're gonna feed people, you have to feed them in your establishment, right? Like that would be a good way to stop litter, right? Because most of the litter downtown is from the churches that hand out food. They come in, they pick their stuff up, they walk down the road, and they just throw it onto somebody's lawn. And then, code enforcement will come knock on my door and say, hey, Mike, you need to come pick this up. I don't really think that that's an effective way to make a safer community. And I think for all of you guys, and me as someone who lives and works here, I think my biggest concern is that I don't think any of you can actually define what success looks like here. Right? I was in the military a long time. We had the same problem with the Iraq War. Nobody could define what success was. What is success here? What does it mean? They certainly didn't define it in their presentation. I have no idea what they were talking about. There's a lot of collaborating, a lot of other big words, right? But I've been there, I've done that. That's just academic guru, right? And so what I'm asking for you guys is define what you guys want, because nobody really knows what success looks like here. And I'm not sure you guys do either, as a whole. I have a very clear picture of it. Like, I want to see free service, harm reduction gone, bye-bye, none of it down here. You want to give free health services, understandable. That's a reasonable thing. However, the harm reduction is just, nobody who's been here long-term could say that it's led to success down here. This area is getting worse, progressively, year on year, okay? And I just don't know what we're doing here, because I don't really know what you guys are trying to achieve with it. Because we're certainly not helping anybody. There's definitely more drug addicts now than there were before. I can promise you that. There's definitely more crime now than there was before. I can promise you that. There's definitely more property destruction. And I'll tell you right now, I deal with a lot of different landowners around here. Most of the property owners around here don't want to do things because nobody's taking care of them as well. And so we're in this big perpetuating cycle of things going downward. And so I say to you guys, I think you guys should get together, maybe with them as well, and kind of figure out what success actually means in very definitive words, not broad scoped ideas, okay? That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Todd Stainbrook.
I'll make it short and to the point this time and stay on course here. Todd Stainbrook, 1035 Bakers Ridge Road. We all know the city's going downhill very rapidly over the last few years. We all know the people responsible for this happening. We all know our city manager does not live in our city. We all know he only hires yes men or women to manage every department within our city. From the chief of police to the city street worker, every manager that is worth a crap has always wanted to be surrounded by people who are smarter than them. Being a leader doesn't mean you have followers. Being a leader means you have coworkers that you have a mutual respect to work with every single day. We unfortunately don't have that. Our chief of police seems to be a figurehead to only give council and the public a false sense of security all the time. I could go from department to department, but the bottom line is the buck stops with all of you, especially with our mayor, Celine. It seems you have forgotten the city manager works for you, and in turn, you all work for us. Myself and many of these folks behind me are here to ask you to resign the position of mayor effective immediately. We ask that the deputy mayor resign as well. The man does not answer an email, and he's our deputy mayor. How can you fill the position that way? Since it seems the council can't get their crap together to solve the city's biggest problem, we are asking that the city manager take it upon himself and resign as well. The silent majority is going to stop being silent really soon. This is a portion of what's coming. There's going to be more. We are not going to sit and just watch this happen to our city. We're going to take it back. And that starts with you, sir, and continues down the line.
Speak with us.
I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Anderson.
I appreciate the time you're affording me here. I'm here tonight because I've had good support from the county police, the state police, and some of the city police officers. We've had major damage to our property, 10 Scott Avenue. And we've had individuals that are helping to make that situation worse. And we've had machetes, bags of Narcan, powders that we've had to figure out how to destroy, put masks on, whatever, because we don't know what it is. We don't know whether it's cocaine, we don't know whether it's fentanyl, but anybody that's carrying a bag full of Narcan. And then I've spoken with some of the other organizations here, and they said, if you find needles, come tell us and we'll come get them. Well, I don't want to have to come get somebody if I find needles on my property. Now, I've had more than $10,000 worth of damage. I understand there's some, and I would ask this board, and I'm speaking to you, Madam Mayor, that I would ask you to look at some of the people on your board, because I think you have some people who are in violation of the West Virginia Code 6B1-2, which is ethical operation. And I'll define ethics as the actions that are against social norms and acts that are considered unacceptable to the public. And then there's also the portion of moral distress. When someone knows the difference, knows the ethical, correct manner to address an issue, but they choose not to. So I would ask you to look at your board members. There is an organization out here, and they're called RAMP. They were passing out machetes, as I am told from the guy who had the machete. Now, I see that as an adverse
Can I address that?
position. No, sir, when I'm finished speaking.
Can we suspend the rules
When
to
he's
so I can
done.
address
When
that?
he's done. Keep going.
I don't know these people, but I am told by the people that I have encountered, and were it not for the state police, I would have been into a situation of having to deal with somebody that's carrying a machete that was given to them, according to them, by a group called RAMP. I don't know these people. And so I'm asking you as the leaders of this city to look internally, and also anyone who believes in a non-hierarchical structure. If you believe in a non-hierarchical structure, that is the only thing that creates chaos. We don't want to be a Seattle. We don't want to be a San Francisco. We want to be Morgantown. Morgantown's a great place. Been here 35 years. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. When we're done with the comments, then we will address.
Okay.
Lucian?
Good evening. My name's Lucian Lewin. I'm an owner of 2 properties on Wall Street. And I really appreciate the comments by the DeCensos who described an 18-month period where we were all going downhill. I will report that in the last 2 to 3 weeks, it seems from my perceptions of the activity of the police in our area that we're moving back uphill, because they've been very responsive to my calls. Just before that, I did have an occasion where, and I called Bilal, who's the chief, well, the owner of the barber shops in the buildings I have, and I said, Bilal, I'm looking at the camera over in the parking lot behind the Health Right, and it looks like there's a guy over there who's just selling drugs. And he said, yeah, that's what I see too from the barbershop window. I've never seen anything like that before, and I do have a little experience being a former prosecuting attorney, having served in the military in the same function, and then represented some people that were charged with various offenses at the time, and about 50 years of litigation. So I can't say who it was. I can't identify them. We saw it on the video. People were on Wall Street, and they'd walk across to the corner of the parking lot, and they'd get stuff, and then they'd go back, and then it would happen over and over again. I haven't seen anything like that ever before, but I did see it several weeks ago. But in the last several weeks, I wanted to let you know that I've been very happy. I've been calling 911. They've been sending officers over. Wall Street, after they come over, looks very nice. And same with the parking lot behind the Health Right building. So I'm hopeful. I listened to the program from Main Street today, and it sounds like a hopeful and well thought out program from where I'm sitting. But I do want to reiterate that I've had an experience for a long period in the last couple of years where things were not going well, and we've had every sort of thing that you can imagine. Recently, I was looking at the camera that goes over our front door, and a woman who was dressed reasonably well walked up and started taking the mail out of our mailboxes. And I couldn't believe it. I see my time's about up, which is fine, but I did want to say that these recent interactions with the police have been very positive. We want to thank the police for what they've been doing. They've just done an excellent job in the last several weeks. We're hopeful that we can turn things around because, as other people have said, this is not the Morgantown that we want, nor the Morgantown we used to have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Jonathan.
Council members, staff, mayor. I'll just reiterate some points. I don't really have anything prepared, but just, I've lived downtown for quite some time, and I've seen, it go through different stages. And, some of the points that were raised tonight are valid. You know, there have been issues, and they've gotten progressively worse. You know, I look at that area, and I do really, you know, have an affection for Wall Street, just because of my family and the roots that are there. And I live there, and I see things, and I pick up trash all the time, and I try and manage things to try and keep things clean. But you know, there's only so much a person can do. I have seen the city make efforts. I've seen you know, some of the folks that come through and clean, and it is appreciated. And I've really you know, seen some improvement with the rodent issues that we've noticed around there. You know, with the trash being cleaned up, and so you know, I just really think that I'm hopeful. To reiterate what my dad said, that you know, some of what we saw and was presented tonight by Main Street, there are some like good ideas there, and I really hope they, you know, come through and we do see resolve, and you know, the city can be vibrant again, and we can really see a downtown that, you know, everyone's excited about, and that's what we're really looking forward to. Small little side thing there. I think that something that needs to be considered is just removal of open trash receptacles. You know, we have to try and eliminate people from, you know, pulling materials out and going through them, whether it's the dumpsters or just your regular receptacle. There's one on downtown I pull the trash from because it overfills, and then, you know, it's taken and then ripped open from time to time. So a small matter, but something to maybe consider when we're moving forward with some of these plans and initiatives. You know, and take that into consideration. You know, it was sad to kind of see, you know, some of the graffiti that's been done to some of the buildings on around the Wall Street. I know that their building. I've had to remove graffiti multiple times. You know, all kinds of different things I've had to clean from, you know, various people going through there. So again, I'm hopeful. I'm really, I thought the presentation had a lot of ideas in it, and I hope they come through. I appreciate everyone's time and efforts, and thank you to the police. They have really been instrumental in, you know, moving things forward and seeing some improvement. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, anyone else who's wishing to speak? We want to make sure everyone has an opportunity. So if you would state your name and your address.
Excuse me, my name's Mary Ann Foles, 828 Bloody Run Road, not a city resident. I do actually work in the city, take care of an elderly woman here. Wasn't planning on speaking today, but I think last meeting I mentioned I'm running for county commission next year, hoping to work with all of you at that time. I just wanted to, I wasn't planning on talking at all, but in listening to this, I just wanted to throw out, I have been researching this issue for the homelessness issue for months, talking with folks in other towns and other cities, talking with residents around here, both brainstorming ideas, talking with folks who have come out of addiction and near-death situations, overdosed, and have turned their lives around. So I know we can help people. And I mean, it's just inspirational to me to watch these folks come from, you know, almost dying to now really productive and people that I really respect. So what I've done, started doing is talking with folks. I'd like to get representation from this group. I'm trying to pull together a group to brainstorm solutions. I know a lot of people are frustrated. I am too. You know, I live in the county. I've had people come where I live too, and it's not just a city issue, but we need city representation. We need county representation. We need representation from the folks like the Bartlett House. I'm talking to some folks from the Ramada Inn, Hazel House of Hope, and I think we need a group. What I'm trying to organize is a group of 8 to 10 folks to brainstorm solutions, and let's see if we can actually solve the problem. I'm all about, I'll tell you, my background is project management. I'm not an expert in this area, but I do know how to bring folks together and solve problems, and that's what I'm here to do. So I'll leave my name. I can email you or anybody who's interested. And if there's someone on your group here that's interested in working with me, I'd love to have you. I'll most likely reach out to County Commission as well as, like I said, other leaders and residents, anyone from the business community who's interested, or anyone else. I just want to solve the problem. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ray Glimp, 300 Street, High Street. So I'm not here to bash anyone or talk bad about anyone's leadership. That's not what I'm here for. But I do understand the problem and the issues that these folks are going through. I understand that you guys have your challenges as well. And I think the crazy thing is that we're all on the same. We should all still be on the same page as far as progressing with the community. There are issues, of course, with downtown. People view it as not safe. Many people don't know this. When I was younger, I was homeless. But I think there's a difference between homelessness and addiction, where it's kind of scary on that end. And I think that's what's happening downtown. There are people with mental problems and issues. And I think as a whole, we need to view it, I think everyone needs to view it as how do we solve this problem. I think that's what a lot of these people are here for, is how do we solve this problem. You have concerned citizens, who have vandalization. I've had things done to my properties as well. How do we solve this problem? The trash issue, I reached out to Ricky last week, how do we solve this issue of, even toter? So I think we have a great group of people. I mean, we have concerned citizens. Hopefully you folks are concerned as well, and pushing forward with whatever the agenda may be, and whatever that communication is. I don't know if you guys planned this or what, but this was pretty cool to see before being involved in the community. I see a lot of these people every day. My uncle is Bilal, so I'm heavily rooted in this community, and I'm heavily, doing whatever it takes to try to involve this community. So I do thank you, Amy, in Main Street, Morgantown. We got to do lunch, but thank you guys, and let's continue to move forward.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak? All right.
Hi, Mark Downs. I own several properties downtown, Spruce Street, High Street. I'm also the president of the board of directors of Main Street, Morgantown. I'll just say, to reiterate what was presented, how much we appreciate the partnership and for everyone in the crowd that showed up here today. I mean, as a property owner and a business owner in downtown, fully acknowledge everything that you all are talking about. I mean, we're all living this, and that was one of the reasons that we embarked on this journey together to 6 months ago to start this safety strategy and start working on it together. So, but it's only through us working together that we're going to solve this problem. So I really appreciate everyone's frustration. I understand it, but we've got to stay together, and I hope we can do that. So if anyone wants to talk after, I'll be available. Thanks.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna wait about 20 or 25 more seconds, and we'll continue our meeting. But I'm just wanting to make sure that anyone who would like to continue this conversation continues it. And I really appreciate all of your comments, good, bad, and ugly. We take them all. All right. Thank you very much. We're going to close this session unless somebody else puts their hand up. All right, session's closed. And I believe had a council member that wanted to, with the agreement of other council members, address one specific comment. Is that something that you all are willing to entertain?
Reluctantly.
Reluctantly. One machete comment. No, I appreciate, because that's a continuing conversation, so let's, if you have something that you'd like to say on that matter, with the agreement of the rest of council, please do.
I guess just the easiest thing to say is, and the least contentious thing to say is, no one ever gave anybody any machetes. There's a person directly in front of you that can attest to the fact that we did not give any machetes. I worked directly with Carrie, and we talked about this issue in particular. No one gave anybody any machetes. We have no reason to. That's crazy.
I agree.
Somebody is giving them.
Somebody's doing
Okay.
it, they're blaming Rand.
Yep, we're just gonna have.
That's the end of
you
the
had yours, and he's gonna say his, and then we're just done with that for now. You all can talk about it at a later point if you want to. All right.
That was the reason for my delay, my reluctance.
I know. I know. That's why I'm not gonna address anything either. So, here we are. Thank you all for coming, and the meeting will continue. Special committee reports, consent agenda. New business. Consideration of approval of the first reading of an ordinance amending the fiscal year 2023-2024 annual budget of the city of Morgantown as shown in the revised budget attached hereto and made a part of this ordinance, as the same applies to the general fund. And we'd like to have our finance director come up if he would.
Good evening, Council.
Thank you.
As you mentioned, this is the first revision of the 23-24 general fund budget. It is a revision that is required by the West Virginia State Auditor's Office. It is the carryover or unassigned fund balance calculation. Essentially, this is excess or unused funds from the preceding year that we will now carry forward to the new year and redistribute. The state says the calculation should include balances of all checking accounts, savings accounts, investments, and then plus or minus any receivables or liabilities that will come due within 60 days. So that is what I've attempted to do. One qualification though, our 22-23 numbers have not been finalized yet. We're still working on that. It takes a little while to get everything entered and calculated. There will be adjustments that will still be coming. So there are there are estimates in this revision into the carryover. What is before you is an additional $2,999,000 of an addition to the budget for 24. And my suggestion or recommendation for the allocation of this amount is as follows. First, suggest that we transfer an additional $732,000 to the capital escrow fund. $232,000 is coming from B&O Construction that exceeded budget. But we're also suggesting another $500,000 for potential projects and purchases that may come up in the capital escrow fund. Also suggesting that we transfer $750,000 to the life and health and the OPEB funds. Each fall, we work with Benefit Assistant Corp., who is our third-party administrator of our benefit plans. We develop factors and estimates for the coming year. It's used for budget, but it's also used to fund the life and health. Unfortunately, over the first 7 months of this calendar year, claims have exceeded our initial projections. And so what's happening is our life and health fund is being drained of cash a little bit because of these higher than expected claims, medical claims, prescription claims. So we're wanting to transfer money into those funds just as a safeguard to make sure we don't run short. In addition, I'd like to carry over $179,000 for the police vehicles. We're still having a very difficult time getting trucks in for the police department. So we carry this money over to the new year to help fund those. $35,000 for police ammo and vests that have been back ordered. We all know all the supply issues that folks are having. So we have $35,000 that we'll carry forward to help pay for these amounts that when we do get them in. The initial estimates of our property and liability insurance and worker comp was a little bit low. The actual proposals received from travelers had an increase in some of the areas, so I'm suggesting we add $34,000 to insurances. $91,000 for IT capital outlay that we're going to carry forward. Again, committed funds for items that we just could not get in for the year that we'll put in '24. $100,000 into the Human Resource Department for the Employee Merit Program. We had budgeted this for '22-23, but it has not been fully implemented yet. There's still details to work out. So carry that $100,000 for the merit program into the new year. $571,000 as a potential retention incentive for employees. This would be similar to what was done in the preceding year to help retain employees. And then approximately $390,000 additional into contingency, and that would bring our 23-24 contingency up to a little over $1.5 million, which is what we've been carrying for the last few years. And that makes up the majority of the carryover and how we allocate it.
So we have a motion.
Yeah, I'll move to approve and open it for discussion.
Thank you. And then do we have some questions? Danielle. Sorry. I'll wait for you to ask.
I was just gonna let someone else go first.
Is there someone else who would like to go first?
Just for clarification, the retention, that's the bonus to all the city?
It's an incentive payment to all the
Incentive payment?
employees, yes.
All right, fantastic.
To benefit eligible employees, let me put it that way, full-time and part-time benefit eligible employees.
All right, full-time and part-time.
Yes, yes. If they are benefit eligible. There's only a small handful of those.
Kevin, which account number is that under?
The retention, it would be spread out across all of the departments.
Oh, okay.
The form that's included is the state form that we're required to file, and it is spread out between all departments of the city that has employees.
Is there anyone else besides Danielle that would like to speak? All right.
Just me. And I don't know if this is as much for Director Tennant as the manager, but I was appreciative. I asked for a breakdown of where a lot of the carryover was coming from, and almost $1 million was short on our police department, and over $150,000 came from the fire department. And I'm just wondering, well, on one hand, I'm wondering why we're very, I don't want to say stingy, but it's very difficult for these gentlemen to get overtime when and it's labeled as budgetary issues, but clearly the money's there. And when we're talking about retention, we clearly have a larger issue with retention in our civil service departments, more so than some other parts of the city. And I'm just wondering, with over $1 million between those two departments, is there anything additional we can do for those employees specifically? Because we're already short. So many more are looking to go. Our deputy chief just stepped down. His position was no longer beneficial enough to him to maintain that. We're in a crisis with our civil service department. And I'm just wondering what we as a city can do with these kind of dollars to help those departments that, you know, every one of the city's main functions is to provide public safety. And when we are struggling to do that, I think that we should be rewarding some of the employees who are willing to stick around and do it. I guess that's maybe not really a question.
I guess as one person, it's definitely an issue, but we also have other hardworking employees that we're wanting to make sure that we have incentive. And so, as with last year, that it was an across-the-board decision. And I don't know, usually we don't pull out one set of employees to, even though they're very important employees.
Usually we are not 20 officers down with 10 more ready to hit the door.
If I may.
Yes.
Thank you. I appreciate what you're saying. I have that sympathy. And I agree with you, you know, that I would like to somehow resolve these issues. Unfortunately, it's not simply a matter of having the money. It's a matter of how can we spend the money and how can it be applied in an equitable manner. Certainly not a question for our finance department. That's more an administrative and legal issue that we have to deal with. It's I wish it were simply a matter of, okay, we're just going to give you the money, and that would solve the problem. Believe me, I'd be happy to contribute. It isn't. It's not that simple. And it's not advantageous to portray it in that manner. It just makes people think as though we're not really trying to do right by our employees. We always have tried to do right by our employees. We've gotten ourselves in more trouble than I even care to admit because we've tried to do that. And administration has inherited a lot of what we started way back when we tried to put our employees on an equal plane in terms of being compensated correctly. I am as frustrated with these circumstances as you are. And I don't mean to diminish anybody's sympathy towards these things. We need to work for solutions, but the idea that we could just simply pick something, point at it, and say, that's the blame, I wish that were so. I don't believe it is. Thank you.
He said it much better than I did.
Is the question inherent in this that you're trying to ask that more of this carryover be allotted to the police department, essentially?
I mean,
Is that the question that you're posing?
985,000 of it is coming from the police department, and 421,000 of it is going back to the police department. So, yeah, I guess maybe.
If I may, to attempt to why the large budget underage in the police department. Our budget software uses position budgeting. So essentially, every position within the city is budgeted. So that number within the police department, salaries, benefits, assumes that they will be hiring at full staff. Obviously, they are not. They haven't been able to, and they were 19 down, I believe, most of the year. So we're budgeting at this level for a full staff, plus overtime, and they're actually coming in 20 less. That is creating a lot of the variance that you're talking about. You also had the 178,000, I believe, for the vehicles. That is part of that number that was not spent. Ammo, fuel costs, we had budgeted a good bit for fuel costs. Fuel came down a little bit. The vests, but a large portion of that is because we do budget for a full staff for every single department within the city. And that obviously does not happen. That's a perfect world, and we can't predict where necessarily openings are going to be.
Right. And that's budgeted for next year that way.
Correct.
So at any time that we can manage to hire a full staff in any of the departments, we have the funds available and planned for those
Yes, ma'am.
people. And when we're trying to pay for items that aren't available this year, we have the funds available next year to pay for those, like the vehicles that you talked about.
Correct.
We have the funds available to do that next year. We just haven't been able to, they have not been available for purchase.
Correct. We're having a difficult time. We lease a lot of our vehicles, and they just cannot find trucks for PD, for fire departments, for streets. Although I believe streets maybe has caught up with their vehicles, but don't hold me to this number, but there may be like 7 trucks out there that we are trying to get for the PD.
Can you explain the monies that are how the employees that are full-time or are benefits eligible will receive, is it $1,000 2 times?
There are 2 increments. This is all proposed. There would be 2 increments, one in September. This past year we did September and December. We felt that might be too close together to really retain employees. So we're suggesting September, the first 1,000 or 500 for part-time, and then May would be the next payment of 1,000 and 500 respectively.
I don't think it's a secret that our police and fire employees feel as though some personnel policy changes have affected them unfairly. And I also don't think it's fair that we are continually asking 60 officers to do the job of 80 and cover all of the shifts of 80. It seems to me like there's no incentive to stay here.
I have to agree with that. If you look at what maybe Granville's doing, Granville starting pay is starting out at what an officer of 4 years experience is getting. And our rookies here they're just not getting what other departments are. And the reason we're not getting numbers, for example, Bridgeport, they had 18 applicants. Almost a third of them passed. The university, we just got 3 out of the academy. We have 3 more going. We're constantly getting people in the mix. And it seems like Morgantown is the only department that can't get the number. We can't even get applicants. I think we only had 8. But like I said, Granville is giving really good incentives because a rookie's starting out at a 4-year grade for a police officer. Like I've been on the force for 4 years, then that's what they're starting out as what a rookie, a normal rookie here would start out. So if we maybe offer them something, it could be a plus to help us out, to get our numbers up. Because we are, like Daniel said earlier, we're going to lose about 10 more officers here real soon due to retirement and age.
So if you all have ideas
We do.
about what you'd like to see done differently, usually when we're talking about payment systems and how people are paid and what sorts of incentives we like to see, usually we're offering that to our management team so that they can develop something that then they can bring back to us. And at this moment, usually is not when we're doing that exact thing.
I understand that, but
You have brought it up.
as
It's
usual,
been
I
aired.
have brought
It's
it
been
up
aired.
many, many times in executive session and through other meetings, and it never gets addressed. So, as usual, here I am in a public meeting telling people what I've been asking for more than a year.
So, while I would agree that I have some issues with perhaps the pay of our public servants in general, I don't know if like throwing more money just at the department in general is the solution, right? I think per capita we spend more than most other police departments in the state, so maybe it's a matter of reallocating the budget and understanding that like individual pay may be a more efficient way of spending that money. And so by saying all that, I guess I'm trying to say that maybe there are, again, better times to have this discussion. I do understand what you mean, though, Danielle. And I understand what you're trying to do, that you're trying to bring this forward so that people have awareness. But if I was to make like any kind of plea, I guess it would be to like a reassessment of the police budgets in general and see what we can do within the budget that we already allocate, because again, it's higher than most police budgets within the state, a good 10% higher, that we look at that reallocation towards actual paying our officers and retaining them. And that would end my comments on that particular topic.
Good discussion, but I'd like to call for the question.
I would just like to make the comment that I think we're all very appreciative of police department, fire department. We have worked hard and encouraged our administration, and they have been responsive to some shift changes and some other ways to make sure that people were remunerated and paid fairly and better than other departments, and brought up some of the payments of the employees when they were first hired, making sure that that was a higher amount to make it more in line with some of the other departments. So whatever we need to do to continue that journey, I'm sure we will do. But I would say at this point, we should be calling the question.
I'm not still talking.
I'm done.
Great, I am. All right. Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Yes. Deputy Mayor Abu-Ghanem?
Yes.
Bill Koecki?
Yes.
Weezy Michael?
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull?
No.
Dave Harshbarger?
Yes.
Brian Butcher?
Yes.
Mayor Celine?
Yes.
Thank you.
So that passes. So that was 6-1, and now we are going to consideration of approval of a bid award, 2023 13 general construction for High Street fencing project. Emily Mazzarelli.
Thank you. I just want to make a quick correction. I see in the memo that's included in your packet, the opening sentence does refer to the paving project, which you can, I'm sure, guess that we use this as a template to carry on the next one from the previous bit of word, but this is in fact for the High Street tree fencing project. I'll give a quick kind of summary of what this is. So we have been battling the work of many moons ago when they did the streetscape on High Street, which I'm sure at the time was beautiful, but perhaps someone who had selected those trees, I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone that actually was a part of that, but picked a very poor choice of tree to put in those bump outs, or in all the pits. They grow very large, they grow very fast, and if you've walked on High Street, I'm sure you will have noticed the root system has pushed the concrete slabs of the sidewalk up and have grown kind of too high. Essentially causing some trip hazards on the sidewalks. We have been doing a series of projects, kind of incremental projects, lower cost projects to work on addressing those. There was some grinding that occurred. What this project does, around each of the tree pits, they had to add kind of a curb, like you would see, like a 6-inch high curb around the tree pits to essentially keep the soil and mulch on the tree pits. And then next to that, there is about a 12-inch by 12-inch square at sidewalk grade concrete around that as well. And what this project does, those curbs, a lot of times the fencing is inside those curbs, and those curbs themselves become trip hazards even once we've cleaned ground down the other parts of the sidewalk. So what this project does, it essentially demos the concrete around the trees, extends the curb out to the very edge of that sidewalk, and then places the fencing on top of the curb, so people are less likely to trip or run into a fence, as opposed to the curb that is 6 inches off the ground that they may not be paying attention to. We put this out to bid and got 4 individuals to respond. The low bid was to Anderson Excavating for $68,593. So it's about 10 grand for the first 7 tree pits, starting at Willie and going down the first block. We have worked with Anderson Excavating on quite a few projects in the past, and they're well qualified to perform this work. We would recommend a bid award to this. Someone asked the question in the past, well, I don't like the fencing, I'd rather see them flush. We'd love to get there one day. These trees in particular can't handle that. I was talking to City Manager Haas earlier. At some point, the entirety of High Street, the very large trees, will need to come out. And in order to do that, you'll have to take out likely part of the road and part of the sidewalk beyond the tree pit to get the root system. So it's a much more expensive and much more invasive project. So this is kind of an in-the-middle step to address the potential for people tripping and getting injured on these.
How high is the fencing?
The fencing would be the same that's in the bump outs. So it's maybe 2 feet high.
Yeah.
It would only be on 3 sides, so you can still access them easily from the street side. And the fencing was pulled back maybe about 6 or 12 inches from the curb, so if you are getting out of a car, you're not opening your car door right into a fence.
Cool. All right. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second. Thank you. So what questions do we have for our assistant manager? Yes.
So, Emily, this is just for 7 tree pits, right? Coming down
Yes.
High Street from the top, going down.
Yes, we weren't entirely sure how the bidding would come in. One of the goals with this project, essentially, once you do the first one, all the ones
continuing on down High Street would essentially be the same. You can use the same design standards. It's very similar all the way down. So we wanted to kind of just do a smaller portion as phase one to get an idea of what that cost could be.
In the curbing or the fencing, can you describe what that looks like? And is it just concrete or is it?
Yeah, so it would be a concrete curb. So currently there's about a 12-inch by 12-inch square. It almost looks like a concrete tile. That's the same elevation as the sidewalk, and then the 6-inch curb goes up from there. And then the fencing is actually inside of like the soil area where the tree pit is. So this essentially moves the 6-inch curb all the way up to where it would meet the sidewalk. So there'd still be that 6-inch difference, but where this would actually take the fencing and basically bolt it on top of that concrete curb. So now, you know, people that either have a harder time seeing or maybe aren't paying attention, usually they'll see a sidewalk or you know, a couple foot high fence a lot easier than they would, you know, maybe a curb if they're not paying attention. They might see the tree and see the fence, but maybe be walking a little bit closer to it and kind of trip over the corner or something like that. So this is to kind of eliminate that.
Is Main Street on board with this?
There have been various opinions through different folks that we have talked to. This is what we feel like would currently match the bump outs that are styled. Some folks really like the, both for Main Street and just some of the business owners, like a couple of the tree pits you'll see are either completely flush, so there is no curbing anywhere, or they have the tree grates. They've recently got repainted in, say, City of Morgantown. So people would love that. We would love to do that. Unfortunately, with how these trees are, the existing trees, you can't do that with these trees because if you remove the curbing, essentially the dirt would wash out from around it, and then you would have, people would just trip over the tree roots. So it just moves from tripping over a curb to tripping over a tree root. So until those trees are removed, there has to be some kind of curbing and
Gotcha.
doesn't have to be fencing, but that was what essentially was put in at the time to address people tripping over it.
And we're not removing the trees at this point?
Not at this point. You know, at some point in the future, likely after we finish Pleasant Street, Walnut Street, maybe do something with Chestnut. I imagine at that point High will be reconsidered for streetscape.
Gotcha. Thank you.
But I don't want to make it seem that everyone is making this design great.
I think this is a problem ever since they were first installed. There were different kind of issues about tripping, curbs, no curbs, flush, type of tree. Just hard, because trees are natural shapes and not necessarily flat flush. So it's a hard thing to do, so. Bully for you for taking it on.
I don't recall what species of tree this is, but generally if you look up what trees not to have as street trees, this is apparently on that list. So
It's not a ginkgo, is it?
I don't know. I'm not a tree person.
No, not ginkgo.
It's a different. Maybe it's a
I would
cherry
just ask
or
that,
pear.
like, a potential future streetscape where this is addressed once and for all would not fall off of our radar, because I have been in many of those Main Street meetings where you brought this up and saw the sharpening of the pitchforks, that many of these business owners are not happy about fencing, but I understand that it's an intermediate step for safety, but please don't put them in and then forget about trying to address it long term.
Go walk the street a lot.
Anybody else? Clerk, if you call the roll.
Yes, Deputy Mayor Abu Ghanem,
Yes?
Bill Kawecki,
Yes.
Weezy Michael,
Yes.
Danielle Trumbull,
Yeah. I mean, yes.
Dave Archbarger,
Yes.
Mm.
Brian Butcher,
Yes.
Mayor Celine,
Yes, passes unanimously. City managers report.
Thank you, Mayor. Amy Loomis has left tonight, but we have President or Chairman, whatever your title is, Mr. Downs, of Main Street Morgantown, and certainly a central part of that. Would you please, from my perspective, I think that the presentation that Amy made tonight in representing the downtown businesses was excellent tonight. I think she's given some hope. And there's some solutions coming on the horizon, even though there have been a good number already. Certainly, we're not where we want to be, but I think that together with the local businesses, Main Street, Morgantown, and the city, and others, we're trying really hard to address the issues. In fact, if you were downtown over the weekend, I know there were some garbage issues a week ago, but I think that we've come to grips with how to handle the illegal dumping of refuse into public rights of way, which, by the way, is illegal, and I can't believe that anyone in their right mind thinks that's okay. But some people do, and over the weekend there were 8 citations issued by our code enforcement department for those kinds of activities. I think our police department is stepping up their patrol, and I anticipate there's going to be even a greater police presence in the downtown. So I want to I really appreciate the cooperation we get from Main Street, Morgantown, and the relationship we have. And it's the only way we're going to solve this problem is working together. So I really appreciate it. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Report from the city clerk.
Yes, Mayor. I want to say first, welcome our new council member, Wheezy Michael.
Thank you.
So I look forward to working with you, and congratulations again.
Thank you.
The Police Civil Service Commission will be holding entry-level police exams on October 28th. That's Saturday. If you go to our website, you can search job opportunities and scroll down to police department. There's a number of ways that you can locate the information. If you go to departments and then find the police department, you should be able to find that information. The application process is primarily online, fairly simple, and when you apply online, it automatically comes to the clerk's office, and folks will receive a notification that they have successfully applied. However, if we have folks who would like to apply in paper and not online, we can certainly help do that as well. As of right now, we have 11 applicants, and so I just want to ask that you put your feelers out and keep sharing the information about our open test that's coming in again on October 28th, so that we can fill some of those vacancies.
Is it in the morning?
Yes.
In the morning, okay.
And also reach out to the city clerk's office, and we'll get you folks where they need to be to help complete those applications. So I sent you an email this evening about Municipal Government Week. I know that's not until October, but I think we had a good response last year, and so I'm open for ideas on how you all would like to celebrate with our residents and folks who navigate through our city in October, and celebrating our city and how we can educate people about what things that we do. And so take a look at that email and let me know. Last year we did If I Were a Mayor letters from our partner in education school, and we had some great letters from the kids. We did a mock city council meeting with students from Morgantown High, and Deputy Mayor Abu Ghanem says that they're ready to do it again. So we're anxious to do that. So send your ideas my way, and we'll make sure that we have a successful week again this year. And then lastly, our boards and commissions, I just want to welcome folks to our city's website to morgantownwv.gov and click on boards and commissions. We currently have 23 vacancies. We did make some appointments this evening, so we can subtract that from our number. But we do have a lot of vacancies, and I know that there are some fine folks in our community that would serve us well. So I just encourage folks to take a look at our boards and commissions site on our website, and they can apply online, and that also is a lights out service and comes to our city clerk's office, and we'll get people in for interviews with you. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Pardon my making a face back here. I was trying to see you over this screen.
That's okay.
So I love technology and I love chairs, and I finally got this chair up so that I can see when you're talking. It's just logistical matter. I'm not making a face at anyone back here.
Thank you, Mayor. Next week I'll be attending the West Virginia Municipal Attorneys Association meeting. The association is a group of lawyers who represent local governments in West Virginia. We meet semi-annually in coordination with West Virginia Municipal League meetings, share kind of our experiences, work on best practices, and do some other activities for the group. It's really a good place to find out from our legal side what is going on in other West Virginia cities, what kind of issues they're facing, and how they're addressing them. And I'm happy to bring up with that group any issues that council members may have interest in, so feel free to contact me about those. I imagine many members are also attending the league meeting, so I may be able to see you there as well. I know the league meetings themselves are great opportunities. That's all I have to report.
Thank you very much. So now we're to report from council members, and I was wondering whether Deputy Mayor Abdana would like to start.
Sure. First and foremost, I'd like to say welcome back, Christine. Just having you around. Not that Heather didn't do a great job. Just like, I'm glad to see you back.
Thank you.
Also, thank you to Boat Park. Jazz on the Green was absolutely fantastic. I saw several council members there. Bill, Dave, Danielle. And then I was asked to give a quick tree board update. They're doing a site visit at Woodburn next week to look about the different locations for the tree planting, as well as discuss which trees to plant. And Thursday, so in 2 days, we have our Sister Cities Commission. It'll be my first time sitting on that commission in place of the former Miss Exia Vega. I will do my best to live up to the standard that she set, although it will be very high. And we have school starting back up here in 3 weeks, so summer vacation is almost over.
Gross.
So I'm sorry in advance. And that is the report I have for right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Continue. Yes, there will be a South Park Association of Neighbors meeting tomorrow. 6:30 begins the social, 7 o'clock is the meeting, and that will be at Eaton Park, which is not the restaurant, but the greenery that's located off of Park Street that the city has negotiated with the owners to use as a public space. The one other thing I would mention that maybe it says something about my time of life, but in looking at the obituary this past Sunday, I saw Billy Coffindaffer had passed, and just want to recognize that this was a man who had made significant contributions to this community and had been really at the forefront of doing good things for no other purpose other than community good. It's sad to see him passed, but it's a testimony to what he leaves behind. That concludes my report.
Thanks, Bill. I don't have a lot to report. I would like to say that our sign for the 3rd Ward for Wiles Hill should be done by mid-August, so I'm really excited that we really moved quickly on that, and I want to thank Emily for helping me out with that, and the mayor and them. And I'm going to meet with some of the community members, and we're going to start doing a quarterly get-together at the Eureka Cafe. So that's basically all I have. Oh, and tomorrow we have a session tomorrow. We're going to look at our alleyways and our some abandoned houses and some sidewalks and things. We're going to go over with the managers and the mayor. So I look forward to that as well. And that's it.
Yes.
Welcome back to the clerk. I was very caught off guard and also pleased when I was in the office today and heard her. I didn't expect her to be back, but there she was. And thank you to Deputy Clerk Carl. Heather did a great job while you were gone, so our thanks go out to her as well. I look forward to attending the Municipal League Conference next week. As such, if you're reaching out to me, I may be a little slower than normal to get back to you, but rest assured, I will do so. Bow Park is having a gallery dedication Saturday, July 29th, this Saturday, at the Wiles Hill Gallery. It's going to be named the Deborah D. Palmer Gallery at Wiles Hill. So from 3 to 6 p.m., if you come out, there will be a show, refreshments, things of that nature, a couple of speeches, I'm told. So I hope people will come out for that. Just to address something that was said during the public portion, I guess, I think people are putting a lot of undue expectation on Main Street Morgantown as an organization. I am thrilled with the work that they are doing, and I am thrilled that there's been a lot of movement. We are being very successful with a lot of events, with some of our economic development, with the districting, many of the initiatives that are happening. And I appreciate that they stepped up to the plate to become a partner for a downtown safety plan, but to say that it's their job to measure success on that, I think is misplaced. Public safety is not the responsibility of Main Street Morgantown. It's great that they're willing to help, but public safety is a city responsibility, and it's ultimately up to the city to set what success looks like or doesn't look like in that regard. So when people say that, Main Street needs to step up, even someone on this body, when we were dealing with trash issues a few weeks ago, someone on this body said Main Street needs to step up their volunteer efforts with their cleanups. That's not their job. These are downtown business owners who come together to work together to try to make the district better. And it's great that we do volunteer cleanups, and it's great that they're willing to work with the city on a safety plan. But at the end of the day, these are responsibilities of the city, and I don't want us to lose sight of that. I understand that I bring up things during meeting that people think is inappropriate for a public meeting, but as was pointed out, I do bring these things up many, many times before they get here. And at the last meeting, Councilor Michael asked for an executive session to discuss some personnel issues, which would have been a great time to discuss that, but it's not on our agenda. So I brought it up during this public meeting. At the last meeting, I asked for a charter review subcommittee, and I have heard no movement on that. So I just want people to be aware that this is never the first course of action. This is my frustrated, I'm going to put it out in the open course of action.
Councilor Kawecki mentioned Billy Coffendaffer's passing, and when I moved back to Morgantown in '95, he was a part of the chamber in the Vision 2000, and he had the vision of the Wharf District and the rail trail, and it really helped to set the stage. A great legacy. I'd like to thank the comments from the public. It's the issues brought up tonight are very important to all of us, and we are working on them. And sometimes they're not as visible as to what they are, but know that every one of us feels very passionate about those issues. And just a quick MUB update. There was a Morgantown Utility Board meeting last Friday, and it was a light agenda, but in terms of what might be relevant to council, they're still meeting with Westover and doing what you would say is their due diligence in establishing what needs to be done and corrected with the stormwater and wastewater treatment before it would come back to MUB with a formal request, and then to this body as well. So that's really all to report on that. And in terms of the rail trail, just the most probably recent update is trying to get the lighting under the bridge of the Don Knotts Boulevard closest to the amphitheater. And the hang up right now is where the power source is coming from. If it's going to come from the bridge itself or from the amphitheater. And the idea was from the bridge itself, but there's going to be construction on the bridge, which might not be the best location. So Thrasher is supposed to provide back to the rail trail board if the electrical power from the amphitheater can power the lights on the bridge, and we've been waiting a month for that. So that's about the rail trail update I can give you at this time. But we do have the Collins Ferry Connector Trail open. It hasn't had a formal ribbon cutting, but it is open and is usable. But once we have a few more amenities plugged in, we'll have a formal ribbon cutting for the rail trail board. That's all.
I wanted to welcome Christine back. It was good to see you today. Exciting to see Christine back in a meeting. I couldn't be at Jazz at the Green, and I apologize, Joe, for not being there. I was at, instead, a West Virginia Campus Worker meeting, which is a newishly formed union that is trying to fight for collective bargaining at West Virginia University. There's probably over 200 people there. Most of them faculty. There was like our Evan Hansen was there. Ron Delaney was there. I believe our county Democratic executive, Mindy Slanko, she was there. I can't remember what her title is, the county Democrats, but she was there. It was a very informative meeting. A lot of numbers you probably don't think about in terms of the kind of investment loss that they've had over time, and how administrative spending has grown, those kind of issues that they're facing. I just wish to highlight it here in our meeting because I think like our financial future and our fate is closely tied to the university. And I know that if we had a budget hole the size in comparison that WVU has, it'd be front page news every single day. And they'd be asking for all of us to resign more than they already do. I just, anytime we can to highlight the kind of crisis that WVU is in and how much we are tied to that crisis and how much we should be playing a hand in understanding and trying to work through what that looks like for the future of our city and our state and our university that has become such a huge part of this town. We should be, and it's good to hear some like good faith discussions on their side. They were of course workers from across the campus, and so that was a good discussion to hear, and I was glad I could be there for that. I wanted to thank city administration again this week because I brought up, and I don't know, probably more Emily had to do this than anything, but I had a street that was near us that was in really bad shape, and sent it over to you guys. I think like 2 days later it was patched up, and they were very appreciative of that because I think it'd been quite a while from what they were telling me since I had never driven it. It's very it's a street that only if you live on it you would go down. So thank you, I appreciate that. And hopefully we can get it on the paving list, but it's really good that it's patched up because I think it was getting dangerous. I did also want to congratulate Lindsay Jacobs. She is a community member here. She works at Mountain State Justice, but she's going to open a business downtown here soon. So, bookstore. So we'll have another downtown business owner to come here and talk to us about their problems again here soon. And I also wanted to thank all of our business owners that came out today that are interested in working on making sure and improving things that are happening downtown. I appreciate you guys for bringing your concerns and for working forward towards things and having good faith meetings with people like everybody on council and other people that are working to try to solve this issue. I know that we can solve it if we work together. So I appreciate you guys for being here and staying for the whole meeting too. So thank you. But that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. One more voice in the, hello Christine. Appreciate Clerk Wade and her professionalism at getting right back on the, get right back at it. And wanted to talk about, I guess, the issue of the day of how we weave together our downtown in a way that works for everyone. And I think that the matters that people brought up were important. Important not just the property owners, but important to their customers and to this council and to city administration and staff and to Main Street. And so nobody is saying that Main Street is responsible for any particular task beyond what their stated tasks are, but it is very important that people figure out ways that they can work together. So through Main Street, if property owners can work together, if they can help pull together other constituent groups and urge improvement where they see the need for improvement and help participate in that improvement, I very much appreciate that. I think that our city administration and staff are one part of a solution, but I think that it's going to take everyone to make our downtown the best that it can be, and it's going to take people having faith in the downtown, people holding each other accountable of all types, people seeing what they can do to ask for what they need and band together to get some of the services that they need. And I appreciate current efforts by police, current efforts with our administration and trash removal and enforcement, and appreciate suggestions made by various council members in that regard, and other constituent groups that have been upset and have put their own efforts out there to remove trash, but also made sure that people utilized enforcement so that we're not just cleaning up after people who dang well should take care of their own trash. So it really takes everyone working together, and I appreciate all of those efforts. I guess I wanted to address one comment talking about the nature of our city staff, or members of our city staff, and I just would like to say that we have very, very, very hardworking city staff. I have yet to meet a single yes person. Sometimes I'm wishing for a few more yes people, but I think that we have a pretty lively city staff that works very hard and administers their departments the very best that they can. I appreciate our manager. I appreciate our assistant manager. I have seen a lot of stepping up where stepping up is needed, and coming up with some good solutions, and just plain working really hard. You saw our finance director today, who stepped up and produced more documentation when council requested it on, kind of short notice, that we have people who will work hard all on their own, and then also work hard when more is required. So I can see that people are frustrated, and they're allowed to be frustrated. That's the nature of the world, and I also get frustrated, as you can see, when sometimes I'm left speechless. But here we are, and we have a lot of really great council people who look at things from different perspectives, and we try to weave things together and come up with a whole city, because that's what we all need, and that's what the citizens expect. So here we go, moving forward from here. I also wanted to mention that if periodically we have these neighborhood walkthroughs, so we're going to go through the Wiles Hill neighborhood and look at some of the issues that Councilor Michaels was interested in, and if you in your ward would like to have another one of those neighborhood walkthroughs, we'd be glad to help schedule one to address issues. We kind of spread them out, so usually there's not more than one every month or two, but it's a good thing to do, and the managers put together a nice set of employees that'll be looking at those type of issues, and we could also do something like that in the downtown. So it's like code enforcement, and I'm not positive exactly who we have for tomorrow. I've seen the list, but it's for instance, code enforcement, somebody from planning, somebody from engineering, and whoever else is needed for a particular neighborhood or area, and just going through a walkthrough and coming up with a work plan for how improvements can be made. So anyway, we are an active and busy group all the way around. So thank you all. Somebody want to read us into executive session?
Pursuant to West Virginia State Code Section 6-9A-429, to discuss acquisition and or development of real estate in the First Ward.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah. All right. We're going into executive session.
Okay.
Thank you all very much.